Hello, my lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Wednesday, the 1st of April. My name is Owen, and here is what is on my mind today. So, a little bit of preamble. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Me, I'm doing okay. Obviously, we're still very much in this quarantine lockdown. It's a big period of uncertainty. I'm sticking to my structure, trying to give myself my days a little bit of progression as opposed to me just kind of sitting on the sofa all day. So I've been out for my mandated bit of exercise, been for a walk. I'm doing some kettlebell stuff in the flat, and just generally trying to take care of myself, take care of my health, and that kind of thing. Hope you were doing the same. There's a couple of things in there I didn't want to mention, but I didn't want to make them full stories because there's other websites that have done it better. So first and foremost, the Excel Centre in London, now the Nightingale Hospital. What an achievement. They've set this up in 2 weeks from nothing to where it is now. It's going to start taking patients this week. It's got 80 wards with 42 beds in each. It can service 4,000 patients. And the fact that they've managed to do this, to fully equip this hospital in this amount of time, is staggering. It's fantastic. So big props to them. Little bit of a rant. Stop gathering in places. There's loads of stories. I'm looking for news stories today. There is loads of stories about people just getting together and police having to go and break up parties and people gathering on beaches and people using step ladders to get into a park because the park had been locked because it's a place where people can gather. So people get step ladders and going over the wall and just, will you just stop it? Because we now know, if you look at the news, sadly, if you look at the news now, this virus is like, oh, it's fine. It's, it's only killing people with pre-existing medical conditions and the elderly. Not anymore. Not anymore. It is killing. Viruses are indiscriminate. And we're now getting to a point where young, healthy people are sadly dying from this virus. So do not think you are immune. Do not think you are superhuman because you're a dude in his 20s. You know what? There is lots of very, very, very healthy. There's athletes who have died from this now. So please, obey the social distancing. I've been going for a walk, and if I see people coming the other way, we see each other, 50 yards out. If they don't move across the road, I move across. And as we pass, with a nice distance between us, we give them a little nod, just kind of acknowledge them, thanks for moving, I'm happy to move over for you, that kind of thing, to obey these rules, because everybody's moaning about lockdown. It doesn't get to the end of it until we all do as we're told. It finishes when the virus starts to recede. At what point during that we are all kind of allowed out again? If it has to get to zero, I don't think it does. But when basically we have to get over the crest of this virus and the infection rate, and anybody doing this and gathering, you're not helping. So if you don't want to be stuck inside, follow the rules and you get out quicker. Anyway. So that's all preamble, that's all rant. So as usual, I've picked out 5 stories making headlines I wanted to give my thoughts on. Links will be in the description below so you can read each article in full and show those original publications some love. Now, full disclaimer, some of these stories are a day or two old. Now, 2 reasons for that. Number 1, it's incredibly hard to find any story which is not centered around coronavirus. And again, I don't really want to just have 5 stories all about coronavirus. So I've had to pick and choose from a few days previous. Some today, obviously, but there's a couple from a day or 2 ago. I apologise if you're already aware of these or you've already seen them. You're just going to get my take on them, so hopefully that's enough for you. Another thing is today is April 1st, and I didn't want to get any stories which might be April Fools. I've tried to do due diligence, and thankfully a lot of places seem to have avoided it because I think they've realised April Fools might be in a bit bad taste. So, yes. Anyway, so let's get into it. I'm going to have a sip of water because I'm talking far too fast, I don't know why. Okay, so, story number 1. Dyed and cut putty tats. Look at this. It's dinopaws. Cat owners embrace bizarre craze for shaving spikes down their pets' back to make them look like dragons and dinosaurs, and even dye them green. This is a Mail Online. So, well, some people are using their time in lockdown to give themselves DIY haircuts. Others are more focused on making sure their pets are elaborately groomed. Cat owners from around the world have been showing off pictures online of their felines with dragon cut, or a dino cut as it's also known, where their fur is shaved to give them the illusion of spikes down their back. Some have taken the dragon look a step further by dyeing their pets' fur a vivid shade of green, and look appears to be particularly popular with cats that have grumpy expressions to match their fierce beasts' haircut, essentially. Now, just to be clear, the dyes they're using, it does say elsewhere in the article that they are animal friendly. Even if you don't like the idea of doing it, at least they're using animal friendly dyes. So yeah, people are getting. I don't think this has come around because of what's going on, but it's been maybe more people giving it a whirl. And there's loads of pictures of these on the website if you like cats and like cats with haircuts. But just going back to that first picture, the cat on the left, that looks awesome. I get the impression that somebody saw the picture of the cat on the left and said, yeah, let's have a crack at that. Or some guy said to his girlfriend, you know what, I think I can do this. Yeah, just give me tiddles for a couple of hours and I swear it will look just like that. And then you get the cat on the right, which, yeah, maybe didn't turn out as well as they wanted. It looks like they kind of got some of it, and some of it they kind of messed up, so they just had to shave it off. So you end up with an incredibly bald cat with a stripe down its back, and it looks thoroughly annoyed by the whole thing. Maybe that's what they were going for. But, yeah, so, again, the owner's doing it with a bit of fun. Do the cats like it? I don't know, because cats aren't usually clipped. Dogs get clipped, if you know the longer haired varieties get clipped quite regularly, and so a lot of them are used to it. Cats maybe not, so they might not take kindly to being clipped if they've not had it done before. So if you are going to embark on this, just if your pet shows any sign of distress, please stop. And if your cat ends up with a ball patch because you started and then had to stop, who cares? You're not going out anywhere. The cat will, but yeah. If you want to do this and you're a responsible pet owner, and you can argue, is it cruel, is it unfair on a cat, and this, that, and the other. I don't know. Like I say, if the animal seems happy with it, fair enough. They're dying it, maybe I wouldn't do that if I had a pet, not a pet owner. But if I did, I wouldn't go to that extreme. Again, if it just washes on like a shampoo and your cat's used to being shampooed and rinsed off, and you end up with a nice dry bright green cat, have at it. Anyway, nice light one to start off. This one, not so much. This is in the Mirror today. Man's agony as he discovers his baby's daughter's real dad is a boy 13 his wife babysat. So, yeah, a doting dad has spoken of his torment after finding out the father of his child was a 13-year-old boy his wife had sex with. Daniel Robbins, 21, said the truth hurts like hell, but he believes his wife, Leah Cordis, is not a bad person and hopes she doesn't go to prison. She could be jailed later this week after being found guilty of 3 counts of sexual activity with a child. Cordis, 20, was a boy's babysitter and was given him fish and chips as a gift for having sex with her trial was told. No offence, and I know it's inappropriate, but I would love a girlfriend like that. After her arrest, DNA tests showed that the child is 14 million times more likely than not to be the baby's father. Speaking to The Sun, former apprentice mechanic Daniel said he had an amazing life with a wife, a child, a job and a home before the revelations. All of a sudden, everything I cherished was taken away. My wife, my child, my home, my job. What do I have left? It's heartbreaking. You got to feel for the guy. Daniel and Cordis met at college in 2015, but during a brief breakup 2 years later, she began volunteering as a babysitter. It was part of the then 17-year-old's work as a childcare student in a nursery, but she began to prey on a boy in her care. One night as he played video games in his bedroom, Cordis pulled down his trousers and they had intercourse, he told Reading Crown Court. Even after getting back together with Daniel, Cordis continued to abuse the boy 2 or 3 times a month. She would send text messages complimenting his looks and claiming she loved him before announcing to Daniel that she was pregnant. Daniel persuaded her to marry him before the child was born, believing he was the father, so she kept it from him. He told The Sun he had not planned on any of it, but was sure about what I was doing because I couldn't see myself with anyone else. And so, surrounded by a few friends and family, the pair tied the knot in a local hotel 5 months before the due date, before a brief honeymoon in Windsor. The young newlyweds then began getting their rented home ready for the baby's arrival, with Daniel describing the birth as the best time of his life. I enjoyed every moment of fatherhood, I really did. It was the best time until the DNA test. So Cordis' crimes eventually caught up with her, and she was arrested in July 2018 with detectives ordering Daniel to take a test. Days later, the results totally traumatized him and tore his life apart. Again, you've got to feel for the guy. This kid was in her care, by the sound of it. So obviously the child is not named, nor should he be. And if you're responsible for him, you need to conduct yourself in a certain way. Basically, this cannot happen. It cannot happen. Even if, I mean, she was 17, he was 13. Maybe he was a mature 13 and she was a childish 17, and maybe there was some kind of attraction there. Even if that was the case, it doesn't happen. It cannot happen. It is completely illegal, which is why she's been charged with abusing this kid. And some people might be watching this and who might be going, oh, he was 13 and he was, an attractive 17-year-old who's coming on to him and that. He wouldn't view it as abuse. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not the law. The law is the law, and the law is that this is abuse, and that kid at 13 is not fully developed in regards emotional, obviously physically, but emotionally. They have not kind of, I mean, you could argue that a lot of people never are, but they're considered under an age, they are juvenile, and they need to be protected. And this person, this Candice, was his protector. As a babysitter, you are his protector. You are in his care. He is in your care. And yeah, so now the 13-year-old, there's obviously going to be psychological, emotional things going forward for him. Hopefully he's fine. But then you've got Candice, who's got to go, this is now on her record forever. And Daniel, her husband, who's now got to deal with all this. And the child, who never asked for any of this, is now in the world. It's just a massive, it's a mess on top of a mess on top of a mess. And it's horrible. It's horrible for this. It's horrible for the husband. It's horrible for the baby, the child. It's horrible for the child who was abused. And it's horrible for Candice because, maybe she didn't mean for any of this to happen. It's easy to look at it as just she was cold and calculating and predatory, and maybe that was it, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just a desire that she shouldn't have had that kind of overwhelmed her and this kid and this young boy. I don't know, but it's such a mess now, isn't it? It's such a mess. But hopefully everything will come out of it. Do I think she should go to prison? No, I don't think she should go to prison. I think I don't know. I don't think she should go to prison. I can't really tell you why. I just don't. Had the kid been a lot younger, then absolutely. Had the abuse been more, I don't want to say detrimental, because you could argue this is detrimental. Had she physically abused him in regards injured him, then yes, again, maybe prison would be appropriate. That for this, I don't know, because of what, the law says you can't do it. So yeah, it's a crime. But I don't know. Something needs to happen to her. There needs to be some sort of recourse because the law has been broken and she needs to deal with it. And even if she doesn't go to prison, like I say, this will now sit with her forever. I guess she'll go on the sex offenders register because it'll be sex with a minor. So you know what? And you tend to think of it as more kind of predatory men on the sex offender register, but in the age of equality, I guess women are on there too, and I think this would certainly qualify. It was the other way around. If it was a 17-year-old guy and a 13-year-old girl, absolutely. So I'm guessing this is going to be the same thing, but yeah, such a mess. Hopefully everybody comes out of it okay, and they can all move on with their lives, and that the baby that's come out of this is not punished in any way, either psychologically or in regards to losing access to the parents and this, because it's not the child's fault in any way. It's the innocent kind of product of all this mess that's gone on. So anyway, there you go. Move on. Story number 3, sorry. This is The Independent via MSN News. This is, I was brave. A 4-year-old girl says she was found safe having been protected by a pet dog for 48 hours. This is Evelyn Sides. She was a 4-year-old who was found on Friday after going missing in Alabama woodland for 2 days with her pet dog. She's told her side of the story and how she was eventually found. So according to local authorities, Evelyn Vady Sides was found safe and well, approached by a rescue team. Her pet dog Lucy was by her side. Her family posted a video to Facebook on Saturday with the child describing the incident We took a walk, but then I got too fast and got running and I got lost. And then I started calling for Nanny, but Nanny was too far. So we'll get to details in a little bit. I slept by a road first night, and the second night I slept where they found me. So Lee County Sheriff J. Jones said, ecstatic may not be a good enough word, it was extremely emotional. We need this badly, said the sheriff in comments reported by Alabama local news. This is really good, solid, positive news in a time when I think people need it most with all the medical concerns going on. Yeah, couldn't agree more, which is why it's in here. Hundreds of volunteers have joined police officers, drones, helicopters and sniffer dogs in the search following Miss Side's disappearance on Wednesday. Andrew Peacock, a spokesperson for Lee County Sheriff's Office, said the dog was with her protecting her the whole time. The hound dog, Lucy, barked as the search team approached, alerting the rescuers to Evelyn's location before bolting off, and it later returned home. Talking to WRBL TV, a searcher said the child was talking like it was no big deal. Family and police feared the worst after the child's caretaker, 70-year-old family friend, lost sight of her on a walk in Lee County, Alabama. It's believed that the 4-year-old was familiar with the location, although she was very far from home. The carer said, I'm so happy and grateful to God for watching over my beautiful granddaughter and bringing her safely back to us, said her grandmother, Harriet Sides. Also, maybe it wasn't the grandmother. The child's caretaker, 70-year-old family friend, and then it quotes the grandmother. I don't know if that's the same person or if it was somebody else who was out with her, but the grandmother said she's grateful to have her home. What's more kind of pleasing about this is that it came 5 months after the body of a college student was found in the woods. Anya Blanchard was found in the woods. So in recent history, they've had a similar thing where the outcome had been very different. So the fact that this kid was found safe and well is just, like the sheriff said, it's just a wonderful bit of good news. And again, I don't want to get into, if the competency of the woman taking care of her, kids run off, especially in dense woodlands. I don't know the kind of landscape of Alabama. It said woodland, so you can picture a woodland. And if a kid's playing and grandma's playing, or the carer's playing, and the kid runs off and she's like, don't go too far, I won't, and then they are gone. And you know what kids can be like. 70-year-old woman out there is not going to be the best person to search. No disrespect to 70-year-olds, but you need boots on the ground, you need more manpower, which is what they got. They got helicopters and drones. They took this seriously. They got a whole team out there, said, we need to bring this child back. And they did. And she managed to survive for 2 days with the family dog by her side. So, brilliant. Brilliant. Anyway, 2 more stories to go. They're both in the metro. They're both a day or two old. Again, number one, I wanted to make sure that they weren't all virus stories, although they both kind of are, but not in a negative sense. And again, I wanted to make sure I was avoiding any kind of April Fool's stuff. So let's move on. Story number 4. So from the metro, policeman wears coronavirus helmet to warn people to stay home. Yes, so a police officer in India has taken a new approach to the coronavirus pandemic. Rajesh Babu donned a helmet made to look like the virus to frighten people when they saw him out on patrol. The country's on a 21-day lockdown to limit the spread of the coronavirus. Rajesh was pictured in Chennai today, where he pulled over motorists and tried to make them aware of the importance of staying home. He told Asian News International, we take all the steps, but still people come out in the streets. Exactly what I was saying at the beginning. Therefore, this corona helmet is one of the steps we are taking to ensure that people are aware of the seriousness of the police. The helmet is an attempt to do something different. When I wear this, the thought of coronavirus comes into people's minds. The commuters, especially the children, react strongly after seeing this and want to be taken home. According to A&I, local artist Galvin customized a helmet using papier-mâché, I guess, and gave it to him to wear. So, yeah, essentially, he's wearing a helmet and it's very visual. You look at it and it's kind of comical, but it's like, subconsciously, it's like, as you drive past, it's like, the virus, it's there, it's everywhere. And it is. And he's just reiterating what I said at the beginning. No government wants you in lockdown. They want you at work. They want you healthy. That's how they get taxes and things like that, and production and gross domestic product, all this kind of stuff. They don't want you in your house. The fact that they've told you need to be there means you need to take this seriously, because they would not have said that lightly. They want you locked up and safe. They would much rather have you working and having to spend money on fuel, because that's heavily taxed, and having more free money in your pocket so you can go out and buy stuff that's got VAT on it, and they can get, again, more money goes back to the government. They would much rather that. The fact that they themselves are saying, look, don't, should say everything you need to know about this. And again, people are just ignoring it, going, it won't affect me. So I am leaving my house a maximum of twice a day, which is once for exercise and once to go to the shop. And I don't need to go to the shop every day. So I've been out once today, I don't need to go out again. Went out once yesterday, don't need to go out again. And, you know, as I use a lot of fresh fruit and fresh vegetables because it's just my diet, I try and keep myself, you know, reasonably healthy. I get 3 or 4 days supply, and then I'll go out again, and I go out, get what I need to do, and I come back. I don't go driving around. I don't go for a jaunt anywhere. I don't go and sit by a lake in a public park and feed the ducks. Essential journeys and exercise. That's what they've said. Leave the house for essential journeys, so food shopping, to give medical attention, or for a brief period of exercise. That's it. So I haven't seen my kids physically 2 weeks now because they live with the mother, and there isn't an exemption, so they can be transferred between. So parents or families that are separated, you can transfer between. So I could go and collect them and bring them back here. But between us, we have deemed that unnecessary because we've got Skype and we've got FaceTime and we can keep in touch, and I speak to them every day and all this kind of thing. And it's just not worth the risk because my ex-partner is a key worker. If there was any danger of me actually, or this transfer giving her the virus, then number one, she can't go to work and she's essential, postwoman, delivering mail. And number two, she could potentially give it to my kids, or if they come to me, they could potentially give it to my kids, which I would never forgive myself for. So yeah, please, I cannot reiterate enough, the government would much rather have you at work, and the fact that they're saying don't speaks volumes. Anyway, move on. Story number 5, again from the Metro. Medical Fetish site donates entire stock of disposable scrubs to the NHS. Yes. So, Medical Fetish company says it has donated its entire stock of disposable scrubs to the NHS. MedFet UK did it after being contacted by procurement representatives struggling to find the right equipment amid the coronavirus pandemic. Writing it on Twitter, the company said, "Today we donated our entire stock of disposable scrubs to an NHS hospital. It was just a few sets because we don't carry large stocks, but they were desperate, so we sent them free of charge. We've been contacted this week by representatives of NHS procurement all over the country trying to source basic protective equipment and clothing. When we, a tiny company set up to serve a small section of the kink community, find ourselves being sought out as a last resort supplier to our National Health Service in a time of crisis, something is seriously wrong. In fact, it's scandalous. Let's be under no illusions. This is the result of a decade of chronic underfunding and cuts which has left the NHS barely able to cope under normal circumstances, much less when faced with the onslaught of a global pandemic. It did not and should not have to be this way. So when it's all over and the doctors, nurses and other staff have done an amazing job, as they undoubtedly will, despite the circumstances, let's not forget or forgive the ones who sent the NHS into this battle with inadequate armour and one hand tied behind its back." That is a powerful statement. People have rightfully praised MedFet UK for their actions during the pandemic, and there is lots of tweets in this article from people saying, why does it take a small fetish company to kind of state the obvious when the media is missing out on it? The company previously tweeted that it had sold out hand sanitizer and was running low on face masks. They also dispensed some public health advice saying whether getting ready for some kinky fun or guarding against a virus outbreak, the single most effective method of infection control is scrupulous hand hygiene. So, yeah, again, I'm kind of on the fence here, and this is why. The government is in a lose-lose. This is an unprecedented situation. If 18 months ago, 2 years ago, the British government, for example, had put 50, £100 million aside, or they'd spent £100 million on ventilators and scrubs and masks and hand sanitizer and all the stuff that we need now, without any foresight of this pandemic, because we didn't know, people would have gone mad, going, you're preparing for something which is incredibly unlikely. That 100 million could go to something far more important. You could fix the roads, you could put more police on the streets, you could put more nurses in the NHS, you could do this, you could do that, yada, yada, yada. You could improve schooling, etc., etc., etc. That's what it would have been, because that's what it always is. So now, when something unforeseen has happened, and the country is struggling, and the government is struggling with the response, and people are coming down hard and going, how dare you, look at this and look at that. I get that, yes, the NHS is incredibly under pressure, and it has been underfunded for years now, it has. But look at what they've done with the Nightingale. So for me, going forward, it's like, when you give us the kit, look what we can do. Look what we can achieve when you give us the budget. When you write us a blank check in times like this, they have done exceptional work. And yeah, so I think there's great positives to be had here as well. And I think a lot of people have said this, and it goes for all these key workers at the minute. And there was a post on Facebook, I don't remember who it was, I think it was one that's just been shared around, and I don't remember the exact wording, but it's basically this: look, all you people who are, you know, high-end executives and all this kind of stuff, who look down on the rest of us as key workers, as, you know, delivery drivers and checkout supervisors and nurses and all this kind of stuff. You're all at home. You know why? Because you're not a key worker. What you do at this point in time is not important. We're at work because what we do is essential. So all the times you've looked down upon us, think about it, because now you rely on us. You cannot do without us. And we are out there. And all this stuff about, you know, like I said, don't leave your house unless you have to. They have to leave the house and have to stay out the house for 10, 12 hours, interacting with hundreds of people. I've worked in a supermarket. Hundreds of people. So what if today I haven't come into contact with anybody. So my human contact has been 0. One person at a checkout, their human contact could be 100, 150 times more than me, which means they're 100 or 150 times more likely to contract something via proximity to another person than I am. And yet they've been looked down on for years. They have. And now it's the post, and anyway, it's not going kind of, look at you now, you're unimportant. It's kind of like, now that the kind of the scales have tipped, you now need us. So when all this is over, maybe remember that, you know what we do, the fact that you don't need diplomas to do some of these things. Nurses, absolutely, yes. But things like the checkout staff and this kind of the thing that people generally look down as kind of menial jobs, and people who are cleaning and kind of keeping all these places sanitized and all that, they look down as menial. And maybe you don't need, you know, loads of A levels to do it. Maybe look at it in a different light and say the fact that you don't need those kind of things does not make it lesser. And in times like this, it makes it far more important than what you do. So, you know, once it's all over, just remember that. Just maybe a little bit more balance. So, yeah, that's what I will leave you with. Yeah. Anyway, I just think that was like I say, full credit to whoever wrote that. Like I say, it's not quite short, maybe elaborated a little bit, but that was the general gist of it, and it is doing the rounds. It'll probably come across your feed at some point. Yeah, and I definitely think it's worth remembering. So, as usual, guys, stay safe, look after yourself, look after other people. Use the internet for what it's meant for, to reach out to the people you can't get to physically. Check if they're all right. Just touch base. Just make sure they're okay and they're doing well, and, you know, communicate. So that's it, guys. Links to all the stories I've discussed can be found in the description below, so feel free to go and check them out. Let me know what you think of this video and tell me, what unusual activity have you undertaken to stave off the boredom? So we had the cat sculptures at the beginning. So is there anything you've done which you've never done before, just to kind of think, well, that'll pass a few hours? Answers in the comments, please, along with the thoughts you'd like to share. These are mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. They're just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.